Today, we talk Argentina. If you've never been, then right now you have the chance of a lifetime. ZarbaTalks will take you on a journey into the economic atmosphere of the country of the gauchos and the pampas. Stay tuned for some of the best educational fun you've ever had.
Today, we are going to discuss the Argentinian economic situation and take a look at slow growth in the economy that has been accompanied by inflation, which reached its highest peak since 1991 this past October. But first, let us take a look at Argentina's history and the crisis of 2002. Over a century ago, Argentina's economy was one of the biggest in the world, but since then, the situation hasn't gotten any better. Due to poor leadership and faulty governments, Argentina has experienced several defaults and has seen soaring inflation rates. To reel in inflation in the 1990s, Argentina pegged its peso to the US dollar. However, this backfired when Europe and Brazil's currency fell, causing Argentina's exports to be very expensive by comparison. Wages got cut and unemployment went up. Argentina's economy got drained, yo. All of this led to Argentina's $100 billion default in 2001. The default has stifled economic growth ever since and has taken this country out of all international capital markets. So what's up now? The government's protectionist policies such as high export taxes have only weakened the export sector of the GDP, and government spending and cash printing have caused the recent inflation peak and devaluation of the peso. Furthermore, in June of 2014, the country officially hit recession. Just in this past quarter, Argentina acquired a deficit of $1.7 billion, and the country's GDP contracted 1.5%. The current inflation rate is around 10.6%, and unemployment is over 7%. That's not good news for the population. People are seeing higher prices in stores, but at the same time, they aren't any wealthier than they were before. Take a look at the meat industry. Meat. Argentina used to be the top beef exporter in the world, and guess what? Now it is only the 13th. That's because the country raised its tariffs to 15% in 2006, and even suspended beef exports for half a year. There was once a potential for a flourishing economy, but that opportunity was lost. We'll be right back with more on current events, and now for the weather.
This week, we're looking at temperatures in the high 70s and mid 80s in Buenos Aires. It will be sunny this weekend and into next week.
Back to the news. Argentina's real problem is price stability and unreasonable monetary and fiscal policies. But wait, there's more. The country could have, but now can't repay the holders of its defaulted debt. Argentina offered these peeps new exchange bonds that would pay about 30 cents on each dollar originally borrowed. 93% took up on the offer since something is better than nothing, but 7% wanted more. The 7%, looking for a better deal, decided to sue Argentina. These hedge fund holdouts, the biggest being Elliott Management, basically made the argument to a U.S. judge that a country can't pay back some, but not others. And the judge agreed. And it only took him about 13 years to decide. Argentina was stuck in this position, either pay all of the holdouts it owed prior to paying exchange bonds, or pay no one and default on its debt once again. Clearly, Argentina chose the path of default, even though there was no need for it. The U.S. court's decision has caused many new problems, as now the obligations and the debt are piling up. Hang tight, we'll be right back for more after this commercial break. We're back. While Argentina is dealing with several problems such as inflation and slow growth, the hedge fund dispute is just another something getting in the way of fixing things. Argentina needs to make a deal with at least some of its lenders if it plans on bringing itself out of its economic dump anytime soon. Let's ignore the default dilemma for a little. How can Argentina help itself otherwise? By making better policies, and that might possibly require a new president. From what we know, it seems that Argentina's president, Cristina Kirchner, and the ones before her, single-handedly dug out a grave for their country's exports. Protectionist policies, along with the peg peso back in the day, created a disaster. What the country really needs is a government supporting for lower export tariffs in order to possibly be able to enter the global market. As for the rest of the mess that is contributing to the country's slow growth, there is no immediate solution. You're basically dealing with stagflation. You can try to fix it, but you'll fail to succeed. The central bank can increase interest rates to decrease high inflation, and the government can curb spending. But these actions will ultimately lead to a decrease in GDP, which is detrimental to an economy that is already crawling like a snail. So the country needs to deregulate. Let people do their thing. Let them be productive, man. While getting the country back in shape will take a while and won't be easy, it's definitely possible. Thank you all for listening to this week's episode of ZarbaTalks. See you next week.
If you missed everything, here's a summary. Argentina is combating inflation and slow growth, which creates stagflation. On top of that, it's dealing with a large debt and an unfortunate default situation. Both the inflation and unemployment rates are relatively high, but not as bad as Venezuela's. Overall, Argentina's economic situation isn't very good, but it has been improving over the past couple months. Next week's episode, everything you want to know about cows.